Hey, everybody, I'm Jody Vance.
And I'm George-Affleck.
And it's time for
Yeah, no words, no words. Unspun.
Oh, no song today. Jeez.
Yes. What is happening on Earth? It's just depressing. We got Ukraine and now Israel. I mean, it's craziness. In we grew up in a very, very nice time, I must say, the 70s and 80s, where sure we had the Cold War, but man, oh man, this is next level. What
We had the
happened
Cold War
this week?
without social media. We had the Cold
Yeah,
War where we didn't just sometimes look at our computer screen, our phone, our tablet, whatever, and have things
yeah.
that are I put it this way. I'm checking in on all my Jewish friends. I'm checking
Mm-hmm.
in on my friends who are mothers and fathers and daughters and sons and grandparents who are watching what's happening and feeling fearful. And we've talked about, anti-Semitism and
Mm-hmm.
far right extremism and the rise of dog whistles. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot here. And certainly you and I are not the ones to weigh in on Hamas and Palestinians and Israelis and what it's like to be Jewish and, occupation and Benjamin Netanyahu. And like, there's just so much history here. What I can weigh in on, which is just what I'll bring to the table for our unspun audience, because we try and untangle the complexities of these things. My mother was born in Dubrovnik. Now, Dubrovnik is Croatia, but she was born to my grandfather, who was Serbian. And my grandfather was not a Serb, he was a Yugoslav. And he would actually fight with his family, who were a little bit more Serbian,
Mm.
and I would grow up at his feet listening back and forth to the arguments that happened that were deeply ingrained and embedded in picking a
Mm-hmm.
side, being born into a side. And I found it, I was young enough that I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I would just listen, and I loved my Jado more than I love anybody. And since, like, he was my
Yeah.
person. And so when he told me stories of being, forced into military service, um, in a communist country, and what it was like to have to do what he didn't believe in, and there's just so much nuance to this that there's no way that one can really know what to say unless you are well versed in all of it, which brings me to
Mhm.
watching the political minefield on social media right now,
Mhm.
of who's picking sides where, and the backlash associated with it. And I said off the top, my this is going to sound like a cliche, but my best friend is Jewish. Like, my power of attorney, the godmother of my child, is a Jewish mother of three. And I checked in with her and I was like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "No, I'm not.
Mhm.
I'm not. And I'm worried about my children, and I'm worried about everybody. And I'm trying to get family out of Israel right now." It's like,
Mm.
holy crap. Holy crap.
Yeah, I lived in Israel for a while and picking tomatoes in the desert in the Negev. So southeast Israel. It's a very small country. Probably about 40 minutes to Eilat down to the coast of the Red Sea. And so I got to experience, I worked for a farmer on a moshav, which is like it's not like a kibbutz, it's a commune, it's a cooperative. Well, I think it was like 400 farm or 400 residents, middle of the desert, Jordan Valley. Tomatoes and red peppers where they're sold. They have a communal thing where they each have their own plot of land. They share. So I got to experience. I worked with Palestinians who worked there with me, and then the farmers were Jewish. So it was an experience for sure. And obviously traveling around. I was in Tel Aviv. I slept on the beach in Tel Aviv. I slept on the beach in Eilat. I had no worries. This is 1987.
So you
Things,
were
of
what,
course, 21,
22?
22.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, my mom, of course, was very concerned. You think of it as a parent now. I'm thinking of my kid who was sleeping on a beach. in all these places, I would not be
Anywhere.
happy.
Sleeping on a beach anywhere. I
And
wouldn't
back in
want
those
my
days,
son.
no social media or frankly phones, because I would
Telephones.
just send her a postcard every week to tell her where I was. And by that time I'd already left that place probably from a week. So, it was an interesting experience, and I got to, live with family and the Jewish family there, and they had dinners with them, and so I had a really different kind of experience. And then of course in Jerusalem, and traveled. I didn't go up north, and I didn't go into the two areas, but it's such a teeny country. It's interesting when you show the maps and you're like, it's like a sliver. So yeah, it's just the immediate reaction, and the it's and then what impact is this going to have on Ukraine and focus. Financial and energy and media, and how that, and then of course you've got the Iranian issue. It's like, it's the makings of craziness internationally. And traveling, I'm supposed to go to India in March. That's been canceled because of our connection, because we can't go to India. There's that whole issue.
You can't go to India?
No, Canada's severed.
Right. Oh my gosh. See what just happened there? I'm like, right. Because last news cycle, which was 10 days ago,
that's right.
That was the biggest story.
Yeah.
And things just get shoved right off the news cycle. That spin and unspun right there, happening in real time.
But that's the terrorism that you kind of alluded to. I think the fear, not only of Jewish people, I think of everybody, all of us need to be worried about this. We grew up during the IRA times, right? Yeah, the IRA. Who, it's interesting to see their response. Yeah, certainly what's happening. The Irish.
That's Irish
government.
Yeah. Just for people going, what? Yeah, there might be people watching going, I don't know what's the IRA.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
It's crazy. Scary times.
Yeah.
Where you didn't know where you might go and get bombed.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, Amanda was living in London during that time, and that is the fear, I think, for all of us that we need to think about. It was certainly the synagogues have already got police patrols here in Vancouver. There's immediate reaction to that.
Lots in Toronto too. I mean, the activation of the law enforcement in Toronto and Montreal, and the diaspora. We've talked about that term. I think we're going to hear more and more of that. And I learned honestly much about that by listening to Sam Cooper, because he will reference the diaspora when he's trying to, because it sounds less. It's the Chinese, it's the Arabs, it's the Jews, it's the diaspora. It's the people who lived once elsewhere and live abroad from their homeland now. That is the diaspora. My mom would be considered Yugoslav diaspora because so when we're talking about, how it impacts the community, the Israeli diaspora or the Palestinian diaspora or the Arab diaspora, and how the clashing of neighborhoods might happen in cities across the globe, because we have seen some pretty unbelievable protests since this all started just 6 days ago. Like, it's been
some horrible stuff. Horrible.
Yeah. Or anyway, you know what, George, we got to, I don't want to,
I think it's obviously a live thing, and we're just seeing this stuff coming out. It's just horrible. And so I don't even know where to start. I mean, I think we just stupid war. Stupid.
We're
so lucky.
Can we put women in charge, please? Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that as a way to sort of turn the page on this week's episode. Like, of course, we'll keep talking about it, and the more we learn, the more we know, the more we'll share. But aren't we lucky? I mean, yeah.
Hard to be motivated to talk about our woes when compared to that.
Oh no, I'll talk about our woes. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start? Want to start? Can I vent a little bit about this thing with BC ferries? Like, it's a super random place to start, but holy cannoli. Like, all right. So out of all of the sailings this is like a highway in British Columbia that we pay for as taxpayers, as citizens of BC. We pay for BC ferries. And this isn't a slight towards the people that are working the ferries, because I know a lot of people who work for BC ferries, because I grew up in Tsawwassen, and that was a place where you got a job a lot of times.
Yeah, I wish Quinn would get a job with BC ferries. That'd be awesome.
Right?
I keep telling him he likes transportation, and it's a good paying job.
It's a good paying job.
Great summer job.
but it takes you a minute to get in there. Like it, because the problem is that everybody's kind of casual and you have to be on standby, and then you get the call to work, and then you have to be available to work. And if you miss shifts, then you're kind of, it's like a whole, because it's easier to keep a bunch of people on
film industry.
It's like the film industry. Yeah. It's like the port workers, for until you get to a certain level. And then once you get to that level, life is good. But what has been happening to the tune of 1,000 cancellations last year is just they because of Transport Canada, they have to have a certain number of crew members in order to sail. And how many times have we seen like complete and utter upheaval at BC Ferries, particularly on a long weekend, where they have to cancel sailings due to staff shortages? So BC Ferry said, okay, or the government, Rob Fleming, Transportation Minister Rob Fleming, said that he had a plan where he was going to fine BC Ferries for staffing shortage cancellations. And in my head, I'm like, hold on, where does the fine go? Don't we ultimately pay that fine? How does that work? Yeah. And then just like a week ago, on the long weekend, it was BC Ferries has announced that their solution, or their first step in solving the problem of cancellations due to staffing shortages, is to hire 5 more executives.
Oh, no, don't get me started.
Start.
No, what it's like our communications debate that we have about the city of Vancouver with a 45, 7, 53. We don't even know anymore how many there are. They certainly haven't decreased them since ABC got it in a year ago this week. But that's bad optics. That's just such bad optics.
Right? Who thought that was a good idea? Who thought that was a good idea? Because my answer to that was, can I have those 5 executives? Great. If those 5 executives are coming on board, they better be on board every boat, because I want them working on the ferries, because then we're going to travel with the right number of staffs, right? Give me my gravy on the side. Extra pickle, extra triple O. Let's go. You mentioned City of Vancouver and the 42 or 57 communications people. Did you see the story? I believe it was in the Tyee. I think it was Jen St. Denis. I want to give her credit for it. St. Dennis. Sorry, St. Dennis.
Oui.
I always go au français. The promise of 100 cops and 100 nurses.
Not happening.
100 cops. Not even 10 nurses.
100. They got the 100 cops? No.
Yeah. In Vancouver.
I haven't seen that story, and I don't believe that. They've hired 100 cops in Vancouver. That would be, you know how much money that is? It's $200,000 per year per cop.
Yeah.
Plus you have to buy all the vehicles and all that. So it's about $1 million per year per cop. So we're talking.
You're forgetting something though. How many cops left? How many retired?
Yeah, well, this is attrition.
How many bailed? How many moved?
Yeah, that's not the same thing.
But that's just it.
That's not the same
thing.
Spin. Oh my God. The cost to the taxpayers of Vancouver for the 100 additional cops in above and beyond what we currently have is about $1 million per year per cop. So $100 million, which represents how much tax per year per taxpayer? Let's say about 7 million per percent per. So 7 times 100 divided by 7. What is that? I don't know. 14 million, 14% tax increase. So kind of just for that. Yeah. So it's just not possible to do. And frankly, where do you get the cops? Surrey?
Can we talk about Surrey for a second too?
Yeah, we'll come back to Vancouver and housing too, because I want to talk about that.
We will come back to Vancouver and housing, but let's go to Surrey on policing, because late last week, the letter that was leaked, that was from the provincial government, basically saying, okay, Brenda Locke, stop. Stop. The letter was, did you read the letter that was leaked?
Yeah. Thoughts? Well, it was sort of along the lines of what we talked about last week, to be honest. And so it was very, like, we wrote it.
Are they listening to us, George?
But we just keep trying to figure out what her agenda is here. what the plan is. It's not, doesn't seem to be more money. She's just doubling down, putting herself in a corner. I just think that your points last week, for those who didn't listen, was really focused on, RCMP. What's the deal? There's no way the government, I don't think, will intervene in a crown corporation and tell them what to do. I just don't think. There's a wall there for sure. So what about administration, and why are they not making a tougher decision, saying, okay, we're out? What is happening here? Why is there this stalemate of all these people? Does the RCMP actually believe that Brenda Locke is going to succeed in keeping the RCMP there? I just find that hard to believe. And I feel like there should be, and maybe there has been, in-camera meetings with council with the RCMP saying, we're working on our exit plan. We know we're done. They've probably presented a strategy, and so what, they're just not talking to the Surrey police? I just, it's a most bizarre situation, having been in council, trying to figure out what kind of scenario. Normally what would happen if you were in a city council office, you would have the in-camera meetings. In this situation, I would imagine the RCMP and the Surrey police would be there together, presenting their plan together to the council, and the council would ratify it in some form or other, or at least be in the know, because there would be boards involved and the RCMP infrastructure. So it's such a bizarre
wait a minute.
situation.
There is the weirdness of this, that Brenda Locke is the board chair.
Yeah, there's that too.
So that's the problem. So the board
the
chair
Surrey,
of the
new
police of the Surrey police, or the board, and she blocks everything. She will not ratify anything. She will not allow that plan to go to council. Will not allow that plan to go to the province. Will not entertain any of it. And it's bizarre. I can't imagine what it must be like to sit on the Surrey Police Board and look at this individual actively blocking moving forward with what the province has already said is happening, period, full stop, end of, and $8 million a month extra on top of what is already remarkably expensive. It's astonishing to me that there are no levers to be pulled to correct this. And we're like a year later of this being a
I can only think
mess.
Because she campaigned on this. She campaigned on this. She's steadfast. And I agree with her, as I have always said, that the cost is underestimated by hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, just based on the Vancouver model that we have for our policing. That the estimates that Doug McCallum bounced around and used to get his ability to get rid of the police force has always been underestimated. She knows it. They know it. And so they're sitting there going, and they're going to get the 170 million from the provincial government once. But every year after that, they have to find their $500 or $600 million to pay for this new Surrey police board.
They have 210 million coming. So it's 170, and then it's 30 million a year for the next, what is it?
30 million a year from the province.
From the province.
Right.
Yeah. So this
is going to $60 million a month. It's going to cost the taxpayers of Surrey. So she's sitting there going,
but right now it's costing that plus 8 million on top of it. Like right now it's costing RCMP and Surrey. I mean, at what point does the ridiculousness add up to even worse? Because the people of Surrey are no safer having two police of jurisdiction fighting with one another. Or one's at least going, no, you don't get to put your cars on the street. It's like, what? What are we doing? Are we really fighting amongst ourselves about public safety? How about we go out and we secure communities? How about we take care of the people? This is just such gross misuse of public office, in my opinion. It smacks of, the brokenness of the loopholes that are what can happen in a municipal election when only 35% of the people show up to vote, and 35% of those 35% have the quote unquote majority that puts somebody into office who then goes, I'm going to take my ball and go home if I don't get my way. It's like, that's not how this is supposed to go. And I'm not just coming down on Brenda Locke here, because the issues I've had with Vancouver mayors in the past. Some have been great and some have been horrifyingly bad. So it comes back to us as the general public to be more aware and engaged when it comes to municipal elections. And you've said it from day one on this podcast, George, that the most impact that we can have as the public, as the taxpayer, is to vote in our municipal elections. And sadly, it's the thing we do the least.
What Brenda Locke's not doing, though, is saying, if I was her, if this is the issue, and then is the money, put public safety aside, there's no, the police are still there. There's not like there's no police force. There's two police forces, but there's the
but
job
they're not
is
working together.
Yeah, but there's, there's still police on the ground. But if her issue is money, then the only thing she should be saying, I cannot support for the taxpayers of this province, a potential $600 million bill, or if not more, and an ever expanding bill. This is an irresponsible decision for the taxpayers of Surrey to make, or for me to make for the taxpayers, as Brenda Locke should be saying. That's the only thing if that's what it is,
that's what she should be saying
every day. I'm not going to spend $600 million of taxpayers' money on a police force that we have a police force that costs $200 million, or whatever the numbers are approximately. Why would I do that? Why? Tell me, province. This is not fair to the people of this province. They were sold a bill of goods that were not legit, and it's not real numbers. And I can't possibly do that to the people of this city. And that's the only thing I'm going to
jump in. One thing that will be the argument back from the province is, you asked for it. The city of Surrey, not you as the mayor, but the city of Surrey asked for this to start in the first place, because that's what the province ultimately said when they made the decision that they're going to continue forward with the Surrey Police Services. They will become the police of jurisdiction. It'll probably take 18 months. That was explained. And here's the money that the province is willing to put in there. And here's the reasons why. Reasons being the shortness of RCMP staff elsewhere in the province, and how the RCMP in Surrey would be pulling RCMP from other places that would leave other parts of the province under policed and whatnot. But also, the thing that Minister Farnworth said that really stuck with me, because again, no skin in the game in Surrey. So I'm like, what is it here? And he said, for any other municipality or township who wishes to go down a road like this in one election and then change their mind in the next election, make note, because once you activate and it's approved, there's no turning back. It's almost like that is we're done here. We're done. And I'm showing Langley or Saanich, or I'm just picking out of a hat here, but elsewhere, who might be like,
Q-tape, election night.
Yeah.
Brenda Locke wins out of her mouth immediately, even though she actually never said it in this way during the campaign. I will not allow this. It's like she just went all in.
She said the first thing I'm going to do is fire Norm Lipinski, Linda's husband. Yeah.
So she put herself right into a corner without any kind of, there was no need to make that announcement. I said that night when I was on CTV, and I said, why would you do that before you get in there and figure out the math on this, figure out the politics on it, to put yourself in that situation. And if you're a stubborn person, which a lot of politicians are, then you're really screwed. So I think that's where she's at right now. Maybe she's just so stubborn. But also, I do agree, if it is the financial issue, 100%, she's accurate. If she was more clear on that, and more, adamant to the province, saying this was misinformation that the people of this province were provided, or this city were provided, and you as a province need to support me on this, because it's not, whether it means financially forever, which is not going to happen, or you have to reverse the decision. We can't afford it.
They can't afford it. They won't reverse the decision. What I think they're going to do is keep all municipal police forces in place, and have municipal police forces will stay in place, but there will be a provincial police force, a la the Ontario police, that serve that. And the RCMP can become the CIA or FBI of Canada, and manage international issues and border issues, etc. That'd be my prediction, because I don't see it's reversing.
It's a very
4 minutes left to cover.
It's a very
all
just
of
on
our
that
other
note.
topics.
Just on that note, though, it's a very risky thing. It's it's like, compared to when I worked at CBC. One of the whole goals of CBC, and the whole point of it in a country so large, is you needed systems in place for every corner of the country to be provided with the same kind of services and policing. It should be that one. If you go to this route, how do we guarantee to all Canadians, if every province decides to go this route, how do we know for sure that every single corner of this country is going to be properly served?
It's
when,
not
of course,
happening
most
now,
cops
George.
want to be in. I know, but I'm
It's
just
not
saying
happening now.
That's the point of
but you're like, hey,
RCMP.
we're in a dream world where the RCMP is doing all that right now. We're not. It's not happening now. It's not. Every corner of Canada is not being well served by the RCMP, which is and that is saying that, knowing and appreciating those who serve and are doing unbelievable work. You ask RCMP in remote locations how it's going, and they'll tell you, I don't have enough people here to properly police this place and space. It's already a big problem. We're screwed on it, and it's not unique to Canada. This is a problem everywhere. Are we raising our kids to want to put themselves in harm's way while the world is nuts?
The province who's in charge of our healthcare system is not doing a very good job of doctors. So,
100%. Are we talking about that now? We've only got 3 minutes to go.
I don't know if I trust the province.
If you just want to talk over one another, we can do that. I was making a point that
I don't think that I don't know if I can trust the province to manage our police forces, because they're not doing a very good job with our healthcare system.
So that was whataboutism, because I was talking about the RCMP on a national scale, because I don't think that I don't think the federal government's doing a great job of servicing all corners of the country like the CBC model. That was my point. Point, counterpoint, point, counterpoint. Healthcare, different topic. Do you want to talk for 3 minutes about the Vancouver plan and the housing thing, or
the non-plan? You mean the non-announcement?
Right. Yes.
I hate that when that happens. You're gonna solve homelessness next? I mean, it's just, what are you doing announcing nothing? Journalists immediately, I don't know if you saw the press conference, but the questions and all the reporters are asking, details, please.
What's new here?
It's coming. Yeah. It's coming. Ugh, why would you do that?
Why would they do that? Why?
I don't know. They wanted to have an anniversary special. They better blow us away when they bring it to the table at council, whatever it is they're bringing. Because now the expectations are super high.
Yeah, I thought of you the moment I saw it. So for you not knowing what the hell we're talking about right here is basically there was a press conference. There was this media availability, like it's happening at this time and make sure you're there. And if you want to dial in, it's this. And I'm like, oh God, what's this? And then basically it's like, we're going to build more places for people to live.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When? We'll let you know. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's like more density. Where? Oh, we'll get to that. Okay.
What? How long does it take to build a tower? 6 years. Just to build it, not to mention improving it and all other stuff. But from the moment they start digging a hole to build a 30 to 40-story tower, it takes about 5 to 6 years. It's a floor per week once they're out of the ground. So, it's a year just after once they're out of the ground. So first they got to dig a hole.
That's a good stat.
Just to pour the cement.
So how did the stuff around BC Place go up so quickly? Because that didn't take 6 years. Once the hole was dug, the Park Casino and the 2 huge towers and the one that you looked through.
It was approved in 2011.
It went up during the pandemic.
Well, it depends which building you're talking about. But I live in Yaletown on Richard Street.
I'm asking honestly.
The last
I'm not
building is being built right now on Richards. And that's taken 20 years. If you look at Richard Street as an example, which had 0 high rises 20 years ago, now it's all high rises. And the last one's being built pretty much just started. The hole just got finished. It'll be another 2.5 years before it's finished.
Right. So the hole just started and then 3 years. So
24 years to finish that street.
Right.
So that's probably, I would say, maybe 8,000 people along there on Richards, maybe approximately, probably 20 towers, 200 to 300 people per tower.
How many units? How many? So 2 or 3.
Ours has 300 units
at a million plus floors each. Yeah.
So you just, it takes a long time to build towers. So and we need how many units? 8,000 a year in Vancouver
to keep up.
Just to keep up.
Yeah.
So I don't know where these magical places will be built in quickly. The temporary modular homes is obviously the easiest way to do it. Loosening up, subdividing laneway homes, but subdividing.
Yeah.
But it's still, the regulations, still a problem.
the one piece that I saw in one of the press releases that I got in that flurry of them was that laneway homes and up to 5-story, I think it was, are going to be fast tracked permitting.
Yeah, we had that. They approved that. Yeah, and so it's.
So that's not a tower thing. So I wonder how long it takes to build the 5-story or 4-story, 5-story.
Well, I know that in Chilliwack, because I work with some people out there, it's in a couple of years still to build that kind of building. The problem is, the interest rates are quite high, right?
Yeah.
I mean, developers are just a lot less likely to be interested right now in taking that risk when they have to pay 8 to 10% on a money that won't be coming in for 3 to 5 years. There is some money that the federal government's made available for this process as part of their housing plan. But you got to apply for it and all that stuff, all that rigmarole. So it's not a great time. That's why when I was in office and why when times were good and interest rates were at 2%, that's when we should have been building. Not only us, not only private sector, but government should be building them because money was cheap. Now money's expensive. If the federal government wants to build housing, or the provincial government or cities want to build housing, and they got to borrow money at 8 to 10%, 8 to 10% on $1 billion as a taxpayer, because the taxpayer pays the interest in the operating budget. You get the money, sure, but you got to pay the interest through your operating budget. So if you're spending $100 million on interest, again, go back to the math, that's $7 million in Vancouver for every interest in every percent, every $7 million for every 1% tax.
Yeah.
Every money the math is crazy, and it's just not possible for the city to do it. But there was a chance when interest rates.
We saw it. Look around. Burnaby did it. Richmond did it. Ladner did it. New West did it.
Oh, and that example the mayor used about Burnaby.
When was the last time you drove down Marine Drive in North Vancouver? Like, the density that is filled in all along there is wild. Like,
guess what?
Everybody but Vancouver has been building.
Burnaby has flat rate CACs. That's amenity contributions that developers make. The process is somewhat archaic but simple, and so it doesn't change all the time. In Vancouver, they keep changing the goalposts. So the developers are like, well, what is the rule now? Staff are like, what are the rules now? It's layer over layer over layer of policy, of BS, of this, if that, bureaucracy.
Crazy amount of money that it costs in permitting and the delays associated with it, and almost holding you hostage with your unused parcel of land that, again, you have to pay the highest and best use tax on it. It's like, so I have to pay for the 60-story building that you are delaying, that I can't actually build, then I can't get any revenue from to pay the property tax. Right. How about a community garden? Anyway, that's 33 minutes of Unspun podcast. You can follow us on social media. Go to unspunpodcast.com if you love this so much that you have to subscribe, but you can also follow this guy on your Twitter. And he can be found at George_Affleck. I'm at Jody Vance, Jody with a Y, at Jody Vance. And share us with your friends, because it's always good to have a little banter with George and Jode on a Thursday. We drop on Thursdays here on Unspun. 33 minutes, buddy. We keep going over. Ever since we said it's shorter, it's longer.
And we missed 2 topics. But anyways.
2 topics. Try 5 topics.
Next week.
Go get your COVID vaccine and your flu shot at the same time.
I'm way too young. It's my birthday this weekend, by the way.
Oh, right. October 15th, because that was the municipal election. We used to say that all the time.
29 again.
Okay. Well, happy almost birthday, George Affleck.
Thank you. Okay, bye.